I'm absolutely delighted that our next speaker is Professor Chris Moran, who's the Deputy National Strategic Director to NHS-England for the COVID-19 incident, and is going to talk about the current situation and, as I promised at the very beginning, crucially, the near future. Professor Chris Moran.
Hi, thank you, Alistair, and good evening, everybody. My name's Chris Moran. I'm a trauma surgeon by trade. I only gave up operating 2 months ago to join the national effort against COVID, but normally I'm a frontline surgeon, still do on call. I'd like to start by thanking every single person who's at the front line and on this call for all the work that's been done. We've heard about the innovations, but we mustn't forget that the care of the patients has been at the heart of everything. So I'm hugely appreciative of what's happened. We've heard already that we are seeing a revolution. This is a terrible incident, but it is the opportunity of my lifetime and your lifetime to make a 10-year leap forward in how the NHS works. It is an opportunity that we mustn't lose, and is recognised in the NHS at the highest level by Simon Stevens, who has said that we need to capture the beneficial changes and lock them into the system. Because I think what we all have to recognise is that we are facing a future that's different. We need to come out with this with a new NHS and a new way of working. And I think we have to accept that over the next, at least the foreseeable future, we are going to run from being in a pandemic into an endemic. So our different ways of working are going to have to stay with us. So at the NHS Central, we are determined to try and capture the innovations that have taken place, pick the ones that have worked, and then promote them and embed them into the system. Those are really simple words to say in a strategy. When it comes down to thinking about the tactics of how you do it, then it's very complicated. The NHS is an incredibly complex ecosystem. Every little bit can have an effect on the other, and it has huge numbers of different pathways. So we're determined to capture the changes, not just in secondary care in hospitals, but across primary care and also into social care. And it is not just about doctors. There'll be many doctors on this call, but it's about the innovations that have occurred in nursing, the innovations in physiotherapy and occupational therapy, the innovations in pharmacy, the innovations in primary care. It is a huge piece of work. How are we going to do it? Well, we're working on that. There are a number of ways of doing it. The good old-fashioned paper way, the good old-fashioned way of going through clinical networks. I believe that the professional bodies are going to play a hugely important role particularly for the specialties, but in a broader sense, all coming together with the Academy of the Royal Medical Colleges. I think that we're going to explore completely new ways of capturing innovation. We've heard already about the system that's being proposed. We're also looking at a crowd finding web system to try and bring people together, not just to give us the ideas, but also to rapidly evaluate them. And at the heart of all this is we have to connect with our patients and somehow make sure that they're involved in this process as well. So it is a rapidly evolving world. Things that 8 to 12 weeks ago we thought were impossible have been achieved in weeks. We can capture this knowledge, we can embed it. It's absolutely essential that it comes from the professions and all the different people involved in healthcare. But ultimately, the NHS-England is where all that comes together, because we need to take your ideas and actually operationalise them. And one of the things I'm really keen about with this whole system is I honestly believe that asking people to review the innovations they've done will help give them a nudge to embed them. So asking people to review it, because I think that just doing that from my perspective and from the Royal College's perspective, it sort of gives them a hidden permission to actually continue doing what they think is right, because that's the way we should do it. And I think that's all I have to say, really. Thank you.
Can I just ask you one headline thing? And I know my trade is terribly guilty of looking for glib headlines, but I was struck powerfully by something you said, and one or two people have pinged me a message about it. Do you rule out the return to the status, the pre-COVID-19 status quo. In a sense, thesis, antithesis, synthesis is now applying, and that we are really looking at something fundamentally different going forward, which Camilla alluded to as well.
So I don't think it's ever possible to turn back time. And if we don't take the opportunity to embed the innovations that everybody on this call is talking about, then that would be a failure. So the NHS will carry on. We will continue, I hope, to provide world-class care for our patients, but I am absolutely certain that we will be doing it in different ways.
I'm grateful for that, Chris. Thank you very, very much indeed.